welcome to my truck. I want to tell you about a crash I encountered last year. This was back in December 2021, and I was heading westbound on I-80 through Wyoming. And I was trucking along, and I could see a wrecked car up ahead that was halfway in the left lane and the median. And at the same time, in my peripheral vision, I saw something curled up on the shoulder. So I came to a stop really fast, pulled over on the shoulder. I jumped out and started running back to see what was curled up on the shoulder. Like it looked like a person. Well, I forgot to grab a light, and I ran back a ways and I just couldn't see anything. So I turned around and started running back, thinking I would get a light or something. And this guy runs across the highway to me, obviously asking for help. So he said, "Habla español?" And I said, "No." I said, "Habla inglés?" And he said, "No." But anyway, we ran across to the median, and besides him, there were 3 more people. So I was trained in EMS many years ago, so I kind of was trying to survey the scene, like they say, and figure out what all was going on. The first guy I came to was sitting on the ground with his knees up to his chest, just wearing a t-shirt. And it was 17 degrees. So I threw my sweatshirt around him and started looking for the other people. The next one I got to was also on the ground. And it was a girl, and I could see there was blood on her pants. And she started screaming when I tried to touch her leg. So obviously she had a broken leg with a compound fracture. So the first guy who asked for help now is holding a baby who is screaming and has nothing on him except for one of those cotton baby blankets. Ooh, ambulance. So I held out my arms to ask for the baby, and he didn't want to give him over. So I convinced him to give me the baby, and I ran and put him in the corner of my bunk inside the truck. He was about 6 or 9 months old at the most. So I threw a coat on him and tucked him in there. And then I got back out and ran over to the people again. And by that time, another driver had stopped. And he and I looked at the girl again and agreed that we couldn't move her. So I got those 2 guys, the one with his knees to his chest, and the first guy I encountered, and we got them both into my truck. So it was those 2 guys and the baby and me, and I sat down and I called 911 and said, "You are coming, right?" And they said, "Well, we've had a report about the crash, but we didn't know where it was." And I'm like, oh my God, this whole time EMS was not on the way? So I told them where we were, about 10 miles west of Elk Mountain, and we just sat there and waited. I think by that time some other drivers had stopped and were taking care of the girl. There was one more guy, and he got into the truck after a while too, so then there were 3 guys and the baby in the truck. So after a pretty short time, the ambulances showed up. There was a tire that fell off and was laying in the road, and the trucks were squeezing through, just running over the debris. So, some different EMS people climbed into the truck, and then they'd come out, and then finally sent a paramedic in and started assessing the guy who might have been hurt, and they were trying to figure out, with the language barrier, what was wrong with him. And they were telling him to stay awake, and they got out of him how old he was, and I thought these kids were teenagers, but he said he was 14. I thought he was 18 or so. But anyway, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, so they finally just put a splint around his pelvis and around his neck and rolled him onto a sling and lowered him out the door. So then everybody was out of the truck, and I sat there kind of stunned. It's like, well, what the hell? So somebody left a cell phone in the truck, and I got out and gave it to one of the cops. And then I was in the truck just sitting here, and after a while a cop came up to me and motioned for me to leave. So I did. That night I had trouble getting to sleep. I still had all that adrenaline, and I just kept turning it over in my head, everything that happened. I was thinking, what was that on the shoulder? And people I've told this story to all think it was a deer, and maybe the car swerved to try not to hit it. The car, as I said, was a mangled mess. It looked like it had rolled end for end. The front and back were totally crushed. But what was interesting was they were alive, and that car really did its job as a little cage to keep them safe. Well, I was wondering what that was on the shoulder, and then I was also thinking, well, I should have had a flashlight. I have a headlamp, but I didn't grab it. I was just running around trying to figure out what was going on. And then if I had grabbed blankets, I could have put them on the girl. It was just, I was thinking what I should have done, instead of that I did a good job. Anyway, it was a pretty wild experience. The most excitement I've seen on the road in 10 years of driving. So we'll just take it easy and ride along for a few minutes through the desolate Wyoming hillsides. Thanks for watching. See you at home.